to 92. 36 for Luka Doncic. 6 straight games, Doncic has scored 30 or more. LeBron finished with 18 points and 5 assists. The Lakers and Rockets play again Wednesday night in Houston. The Clippers did not have Kawhi Leonard for their home game Monday night against San Antonio. Leonard has an ankle injury. The Clippers missed him in their 119-115 loss to San Antonio. 25 points and 10 assists for Clippers guard Darius Garland. Las Vegas and Seattle could be the next NBA franchises. The NBA Board of Governors plan to vote next week on granting a franchise to both cities. The entry fee for both cities is expected to fall between $7 billion and $10 billion. If Las Vegas and Seattle get the votes, they will start play in the 2028-29 season. The NBA currently has 30 teams. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Good old-fashioned soul.
Where you eating at?
Hi, I'm Greg Doolin, inviting you to a special celebration of Women's History Month. Join KBLA Talk 1580 for its annual symposium, The State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live from Doolin's Soul Food on Crenshaw, Friday, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., moderated by Dominique DePrimo. And yes, breakfast is just $15.80. Come get fed twice. Your stomach and your mind will thank you. We'll see you Friday morning, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. at Doolin's Soul Food on Crenshaw for the State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Gotta get some soul food.
Yeah.
What is it good for?
Absolutely
Nothing.
Yeah.
What is it good for?
Absolutely
Nothing.
Say it again, y'all. Look out.
What is it good for?
Absolutely.
Nothing.
Listen to me. Oh, I despise. 'Cause it means destruction of innocent lives. War means tears to thousands of mothers' lives when their sons go out to fight and lose their lives. I said war. Good God, y'all.
What is it good for?
Absolutely.
Nothing.
Get saying again.
Wow.
Oh, Lord.
What is it good for?
Absolutely.
Nothing.
Listen to me.
Wow.
It ain't nothing but a heartbreak.
Wow.
Friend only to the undertaker. Oh, war is an enemy to all things.
KBLA Talk 1580. I know you didn't need that reminder, but just consider it an affirmation. I'm so honored to have joining me this morning former president of the Guild Law School, publisher and co-founder of the LA Progressive, a daily publication, which if you don't have it, you should get it. She has been immersing herself in social justice for years and years. Before she got into being a writer, publisher, law school president, she actually worked at NASA at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, where she managed resources for projects like Genesis and the Mars Pathfinder. She sits on several boards, board of directors of the ACLU, editorial board of the Black Commentator, and much more. Sharon Kyle, good morning.
Good morning, Dominique. It's a pleasure to be joining you again. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's always great to have you on. I get ready to take a lot of notes because I know I'm going to learn a bunch of stuff. And I think when I reached out to you, what I was asking is to put this in context. When we talk about what's happening with the war, and it's really more than one, because we're bombing Iran and Israel is too, and they're also bombing Lebanon and hitting other sites throughout the Mideast, and Iran is hitting back. But before that, and concurrently, we have Gaza. We're still a player in the war in Ukraine, and so we are at widespread war at this point. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
Absolutely. You know, most of us don't think of the United States this way, but our economy is a war-based economy. We spend more, what we used to call the Department of Defense, which has been changed, now Department of War, but our budget for the Department of War is greater than the next 10 similarly situated countries and also China combined. So we have over 800 military installations across the world, as if we were responsible for monitoring the actions of the world and for being the police of the world. Our money, average Americans' tax dollars, pay for these actions. And so when you talk about Gaza and Ukraine and what's happening in Iran, and our partnership with Israel, what you're talking about is the loss of life, the loss of resources, and the continued investment in the war machine. Now listen, from a Black perspective, and as the mother of a Black man and daughter of a Black man, and we need to be watchful of the amount of military artillery and the whole, all of the stuff that is produced to support war, because ultimately, when they stockpile these things, they oftentimes send some of these guns and tanks and helicopters to these paramilitary operations that we call urban police departments.
Right, the leftover
Yes.
deadly swag ends up
That's right.
ends up policing us in our cities, and
That's right.
we've seen it. We saw it in 2020 a lot, those during those protests, but we're seeing it now also playing out domestically under ICE. We have all these so many weapons of war, but now the president wants to double the defense budget. And it seems like now we know why, as we watch these bombs dropping every day.
That's right. And he's really given no reason for these actions, these military actions in Iran. He's given no reason. He's not gone to Congress and asked for approval for these military actions. And especially with him being so connected to this Jeffrey Epstein business and so many other things, it's almost as if, I can't claim this with any definity, but I will say that in my gut, I'm wondering if he's trying to distract us so that we don't learn more about his involvement in the whole disgusting Jeffrey Epstein matter.
Yeah, I think that's a fair question, and I have heard some folks asking that online, but I have also seen polling that shows that our interest in the Epstein files has plunged 90% since the attacks on Iran.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think if that was his objective, he's been very successful. And he's not successful at a lot of things, but he is successful he's successful at gaining attention. You know, he's like a marketing master. And so he's very effective at jingling something shiny in front of the American public, and they look that way. And so we're now taking our eyes off of the Epstein matter and placing him, as we should, on war. We have a man who is perhaps mentally unstable, who has access to the nuclear code, and is involving himself with another man, Netanyahu in Israel, who himself perhaps is mentally unstable. He certainly is cruel. What's happening with Gaza is a genocide. We haven't declared it a genocide, but I think that it meets the definition. So we have these two men, and Trump, of course, is always aligning himself with Putin, although lately he hasn't talked very much about that. But he has continued to not condemn Putin for his actions. So we're really in a bad situation here, and I'm hoping that Congress will especially with these midterm elections, if we can get a Democratic Congress majority, that we'll be able to take stronger action than we have been able to. But it's not likely. It's not likely, especially when you consider that the last time that the United States went to Congress and followed their recommendations in terms of asking for permission to engage militarily against another country, that was World War II. And like I said, we have a war-based economy. We've been engaged in some kind of military action consistently, but at least for the last 60 years.
So when you say it's a war-based economy, is that because we budget all this money for the military and then U.S. companies sell that weaponry to the government so that we become dependent on taxpayers to sort of keep these defense companies afloat? And there are many people within the government, just as Dick Cheney famously did, who actually literally benefit from these investments?
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. When I worked for NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which, by the way, is not a military contractor, but we had many contracts with military contractors like Lockheed Martin or Hughes or I don't know if we had any with Halliburton, but these very big department, I'm going to continue to call it DOD, but you know what I mean, Department of War contractors.
Well, like almost all the major papers still call it the Department of Defense. I've noticed the Washington Post, the New York Times, and they still call him the Defense Secretary, even though he wants to be called the Secretary of War. People are just ignoring it, which is kind of funny to me. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So these large, I mean, if you look at the South Bay right here in Southern California, there are a lot of large Department of Defense contractors like Hughes Aircraft or they're not rolling off my tongue, but they employ
Boeing.
They employ a lot of Southern Californians. And Congress keeps track of each of their congressional districts, how many subcontracts, and then there are third-level tiered contracts under the major subcontracts, like a major contract with Boeing. Boeing will seek materials and supplies from smaller contractors. So it's the reason that our Department of Defense budget, that line item in the annual budget that is submitted to OMB, which is the Office of Management and Budget, every year OMB submits a budget that has to be approved by Congress. That budget is, if you looked at the budget, it would be like looking at a set of encyclopedias for those of you who still remember what a set of encyclopedias. I'm just trying to give you a sense of the size of the budget. But the Department of Defense portion of that is, and I'm just talking off the top of my head, is about half of that. Unlike any country in the world, because we pay for so many things that support war, nuts and bolts and toilets and tires, and the list is tens of thousands of line items in a spreadsheet.
Wow. So this situation seems to be escalating. I want to talk about that. Also want to talk about how we de-escalate, how I always say it's the power of the people that will save us and such as that, but how? And there's a historical context to that. I know you've been covering these matters for quite some time, so we'll get a chance to look at that, and maybe it can inform how we move. All that is coming up on KBLA Talk 1580.
Thanks for starting your morning off with a voice that speaks truth to power and the powerless, getting to the heart of what matters most in our community. This is where authentic conversation meets real action. From breaking news and politics to culture and community solutions, this is where you hear perspectives you won't hear anywhere else. This is where we come together, get informed, and make change happen. You're inside First Things First with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Good morning, sunshine. You make my day. Band-Aid, throw your hands up at me.
This March, we're turning up the volume on the women who changed everything. KBLA Talk 1580 is proud to celebrate Women's History Month, honoring the trailblazers, truth tellers, and game changers who shaped our world, our culture, and our community. From the freedom fighters to the firsts, from the boardroom to the front lines, from the unsung to the unforgettable. All month long, we're celebrating the stories, the voices, and the conversations that remind us that women, Black women, have always led the way. Don't miss a moment. This is our moment. This is our story. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580, Los Angeles' home for the conversations that matter.
I'm your girl, you're my girl, we your girls. Won't you know that we love you?
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Light a candle, pour some wine. Grab a roll, the soft kind for a little me time. Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear. Wavy edges for my rear. So let the softness caress your soul. Just relax, you're on a roll. Let her rip. Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear.
Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear has the same softness you love, now with wavy edges that tear better than the leading one-ply brand. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Indeed presents hires you can't afford to get wrong, like a cybersecurity engineer at a publicly traded company.
We've been hacked! They're through our firewall!
How is that even possible?
They got my password.
Please don't tell me your password was password.
It's actually password 1.
This is a job for sponsored jobs.
This is what happens when you don't sponsor your job on Indeed. Next time, get matched with quality candidates with Indeed sponsored jobs. Visit Indeed.com/hire now and sponsor your job today.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Angela was. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $80,000. Felicia was having health problems, got behind on her taxes, interest and penalties were adding up. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $15,000. Civic Tax Relief is a professional tax negotiation firm that can protect you from the IRS. If you're getting collection letters, call Civic Tax Relief for a free consultation. They will go to work helping you discover all the relief programs you may qualify for free. James owed the IRS $37,000. Civic Tax Relief represented him against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, he did not owe the IRS anything. If you are in trouble with the IRS, call Civic Tax Relief for your free consultation now. 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257. Get a free consultation and real tax relief. Call 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DePrima on First Things First.
First Things First, you are always invited in here at 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. You can also jump on YouTube, where the KBLA delegation has a lot to say in the comments section, and I love to hear from you as well. Morris Phillips says, "Good morning, America. We got this," and I believe you're right, but it's going to take some doing. My guest right now, Sharon Kyle. She's the publisher and editor of the LA Progressive. It's a daily publication that will come right to your inbox. You should go to laprogressive.com, right? That's how they sign up. I've been signed up for so long, I can't even remember how I signed up, Sharon.
Yeah, I mean, we've been around for 18 years. We're going into our 19th year now.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. But you know, when you opened up this segment, you started with the song "War." What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. And I remember when that song came out. I'm old enough to remember that song and remember the era, which was the Vietnam era. And I just want to give a shout out to my husband, Dick Price, who is the co-publisher and co-editor. Today is his 45th sober birthday.
Wow, happy birthday, Dick Price. Yay.
and he is a Vietnam veteran, twice wounded.
Wow, thank you for your service.
Yeah. So even though I remember the Vietnam era, I wasn't really old enough, and my peers weren't old enough to, because my husband is a decade older than I am. But I experienced what it's like to be married to a Vietnam veteran, and with all of the stuff that comes with, we often forget that when people come home, that's not the end of the war.
Yeah, that's
So
a really
I mean,
good point.
war has, it really, really has far-reaching effects, and I would say that the Vietnam War affects me every day. It certainly affects my husband. We would go ahead. I
No.
don't wanna cut you off. You had
I
another
don't.
question.
No. Go ahead, please, Sharon.
Well, when I was thinking of that song, I felt sad because that song from I don't know, 60 years ago, or even more, maybe 65 years ago, that song is as relevant today as it was back then, because we haven't seemed to learn anything. And so I've been looking at the list of involvements that the United States has been involved in since Vietnam. Of course, we know that we had other things that we did: Spanish-American War, Philippine-American War, World War I, World War II. But we also had the Korea and Vietnam, the Laotian Civil War, the Cambodian War, the Dominican Republic intervention, Lebanon crisis, Grenada, Libya, Panama, Gulf War, Somalia intervention. We call these things interventions because we never really declared war, yet we involved military troops, sometimes on the ground and sometimes through the air. The war in Afghanistan, the longest U.S. war, lasted 20 years. Iraq, the global war on terror, which involved Pakistan, Yemen. I mean, I can go on and on.
Yeah.
And all of the resources that we devote to this diverts those resources away from where they're really needed. This is part of the reason we can't have universal health care. Why are our children so suffering in the public education system? Why is it so difficult for young people to be able to buy homes? All of the infrastructure in the United States needs some action. We need to look at our decaying bridges and our highways, and instead of domestically supporting our infrastructure, we're spending all of our resources on bombing people. And why?
And why? Well, back to your point about this being a war-based economy, but and I know that part is not new, Sharon Kyle, but I think there's a certain kind of recklessness that's happening right now, and maybe it's just because it's more unvarnished, and it's not as slick as what we normally do. But it feels. I was reading this article in Politico where they are talking about how the war may have gotten, and specifically Iran, may now be out of the president's control. Like how he and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth were saying, well, it might be a week, it might be 2 weeks, it might be longer. And now we're 2 weeks in, and Politico is making the case that a lot of our allies now no longer think we have control about how the war ends, where the war ends, that Iran is attacking those oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. Now the EU is saying they want to try to find a diplomatic solution. But I don't know what that is, because, the president was talking about insuring those ships, but that doesn't help the people that are dead when the tankers get bombed. And they're talking now about putting boots on the ground. So the president can no longer just randomly declare victory, is their point, because now we've got this thing has spread so much and has the potential to escalate even more, where he can't just say, okay, we won, we're going home.
Well, the former Secretary of State, Colin Powell, famously said, if you break it, you own it.
Right.
And that's what we've done. When you look at what happened after the September 11th attacks, when we entered Afghanistan, our initial, at least Dick Cheney was saying, this is going to be done within weeks. We ended up being there for 20 years for the very reason that you're talking about. It's unpredictable. There's also, we're incentivized to stay there partly by all of these DOD contractors, but there's also the unpredictability of it. And there are other actors that we cannot control, that will take it upon themselves to both protect themselves and maybe attack other countries that they've always had a beef with. So we've opened up a can of worms, and it's not going to be so easily contained as Hegseth and Trump are claiming. Trump tries to act as if he's the king of the world and all powers are within his grasp, but that's not true. And he has a cabinet that apparently does not. They're not very good at reining him in.
Yeah. And my contention this week, Sharon, is that the one thing that can rein him in are these big corporations and his billionaire buddies. And I thought, well, since oil has gone up, since gas prices have gone up 25%, oil's gone up about a third, and that's going to cause major disruptions since the Strait of Hormuz apparently is the passageway for 20% of the world's oil, that these are the things that are going to drive him, not the human cost, not little kids at an elementary school being bombed, but the financial impacts. Well, what this article is arguing, and I think it's an interesting point, is that a certain time, and we may be at that time now, you would have no choice. How do you get the Strait of Hormuz under control right now? You either have to surrender, retreat, or put boots on the ground, right, to control that and make it some kind of military installation. And if that's the case, this could be another long forever war, the very kinds of wars that he promised to get us out of and keep us away from in his America First agenda.
Absolutely. And, I think it's a known fact that wars generate profits for some. So while they do destroy lives and do destroy infrastructure, there are always winners. The arms manufacturers, the private contractors, the fossil fuel interests. The fossil fuel interests, when you look at the oil and the blockages where the people can't get through, the United States and and Israel can't get through the Straits of Hormuz, that is raising the prices. You just go right now and go to any gas station. Dick and I were out driving a couple of days ago, and we saw prices as high as almost $7 a gallon. It's getting pretty close to $7 a gallon. And this has only been 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So profits will be made. And as long as profits will be made, somebody is incentivized to keep this thing going. We're concerned about our lives and the lives of our children, our environment, but corporations have different interests.
That's putting it mildly. We've got news, traffic, and sports, and we're going to continue this conversation with LA progressive publisher and editor Sharon Kyle. And you're invited, 800-920-1580. I'm Dominique DePrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Repairs are underway at Temple Israel in West Bloomfield, Michigan, after a man rammed his truck into the synagogue before taking his own life. Jewish Family Service and Common Grounds are offering counseling.
We built this crisis response team years ago, kind of like building a fire truck, hoping you never have to use the fire truck.
Free drop-in support is available all week. A federal judge in Boston has blocked Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s bid to overhaul U.S. vaccine policy, ruling the proposed cuts to childhood vaccinations and changes to a federal advisory panel would harm public health. The decision voids his recent committee votes and appointments. And Kiki Shepard, best known as the longtime co-host of Showtime at the Apollo, has died at 74 after a sudden heart attack in Los Angeles. Fans and colleagues are remembering her as a cultural icon whose work on stage and screen left a lasting impact. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
Is this the dagger?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers' winning streak is up to 6. They went into Houston Monday night and beat the Rockets 100-92. 36 for Luka Doncic. 6 straight games, Doncic has scored 30 or more. LeBron finished with 18 points and 5 assists. The Lakers and Rockets play again Wednesday night in Houston. The Clippers did not have Kawhi Leonard for their home game Monday night against San Antonio. Leonard has an ankle injury. The Clippers missed him in their 119-115 loss to San Antonio. 25 points and 10 assists for Clippers guard Darius Garland. Las Vegas and Seattle could be the next NBA franchises. The NBA Board of Governors plan to vote next week on granting a franchise to both cities. The entry fee for both cities is expected to fall between $7 billion and $10 billion. If Las Vegas and Seattle get the votes, they will start play in the 2028-29 season. The NBA currently has 30 teams. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. Let's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-444-2013. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-444-2013. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-444-2013. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-444-2013 or biglou.com.
They say time flies when you're having fun. The founding members cohort of the Art of Conversation is almost over. Hard to believe. It's been a joy sharing what I've discovered after nearly 40 years of conversations with presidents, cultural icons, and game changers in every field of human endeavor. If you missed the first cohort, the good news is that we're already planning the next one. Now, the seats will be limited, and those on our waiting list will receive exclusive early access and special discounts not available to the general public. So, if you are ready to transform the way you connect, lead, and build trust, do not hesitate. Go to TavishTalks.com and join the waiting list today. That's TavishTalks.com. The next cohort is coming. Make sure you are in the room. I'm Tavish Smiley, and I hope to see you there.
Hi, I'm Dominique DePrima, KBLA Talk 1580 host and African Focus Incorporated cultural ambassador. You probably know by now that every year our two organizations team up to lead a trip to the motherland. This June will be our 8th African Focus Trailblazers Tour, and it's not too late to join us. But if you've been thinking of going with us, now is the time to sign on before prices go up. Our current deadline is March 20th. Join us as we travel to a country widely considered one of Africa's most underrated destinations, Zambia, home to the towering Victoria Falls and the bustling capital city, Lusaka. Enjoy a visit to Botswana, known for its pristine natural beauty and stunning southern African wildlife. We travel in comfort with luxury accommodations, a variety of fun activities, and delicious dining. We do service with charitable work at a school and an orphanage, and we expand our horizons with cultural and historical excursions. To sign up now before our March 20th deadline, please call African Focus Incorporated at 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300. Or check out AfricanFocus.org. Whether it's in the community or traveling the globe, we move as family. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Let's go.
We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for progressive talk radio. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
Welcome back indeed, and we are sharing the wisdom, the rather large brain of Sharon Kyle. She is the publisher of the LA Progressive, and she is the editor also, which means she reads and edits hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of articles every single year, and reads the thoughts and facts put forth by some of the nation's most stellar intellectuals. So very grateful to have you on this morning, and whenever we are so blessed to have you with us, I feel very lucky, Sharon Kyle. We're talking
Thank
about
you. I feel lucky too.
Oh. Yeah, talking about war, and also want to talk centerpiece a little bit, but the breaking news is coming in so fast. Now, Israel's defense minister is claiming that they've killed the head of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Ali Larijani, and the secretary of the Supreme National Security Council, Gholam Reza Soleimani. The Trump administration is claiming victory almost every day, saying we've kicked butt. If that's the case, why can't we just go home? But there does not seem to be an off-ramp or a plan in sight at this point. This is definitely not Venezuela, right? We went in, we kidnapped their president, they, the Trump administration, stole their oil, and bounced. Clearly, Iran is not that girl.
That's right. It's not. And we should also remember that what happened in Venezuela, there will be blowback. I mean, we saw that when those 19 people carrying box cutters at the Twin Towers, that was blowback for the lack of diplomacy and the lack of using peaceful means to resolve issues with countries. We just go in because we have so much built up military war machine. We look at everything as an opportunity to engage in our military forces, because we have this military industrial complex, which we were talking about, and Dwight Eisenhower coined that term in 1961, which is the complex is a marriage between the Pentagon, defense contractors, Congress, and parts of the research establishment that they're mutually enforcing. Each of them are benefiting from the continued use of military spending and military conflict. But we don't have a comparable peace industrial complex.
Right.
So peace it's not funded. There's little money in our budget for peace. War mobilizes enormous public spending, while peace work is mostly done and underfunded. It's done by universities, religious groups, international organizations, the United Nations, the United States Institute of Peace, and Trump even had the nerve to establish this peace organization, which I don't even want to talk about.
The Board of Peace,
mostly,
yeah.
Yes. It's just. It gets to the point where I don't want to even give it any air. I don't want to give it any oxygen, because it's just a lie. But we don't have a political constituency that profits from peace. So we talked about how we have all these defense companies, Raytheon and Northrop Grumman and Lockheed Martin. Well, those are the big DoD contractors. But as I mentioned, we've got small subcontracts to these large contractors in every state, almost in every congressional district. I was mentioning how Congress would call me at JPL and ask, how many contracts do we have, operational contracts with Lockheed Martin or with Raytheon or with Northrop? Because they wanted to count that as employing people in their districts. And so we'd have to give an accounting for each small third-tier subcontractor that we were doing any work with. We were supplying any governmental funds to. So we set ourselves up in a situation where all of the incentives favor conflict, even media. If it bleeds, it leads. So the media, not LA Progressive, but the media, because of the need for ratings, they focus on not peace building, but they focus on anything that deals with conflict or war.
Conflict, crime, yeah, exactly. Well, we just getting some breaking news now that Joe Kent, who is over the Counterterrorism Center, has resigned over the Iran war, saying that he cannot support in good conscience the war in Iran. So I wonder if this means, sometimes these kinds of resignations or protests can open the floodgates for others, right? He's the director of the National Counterterrorism Center. So he's a part of the Trump administration, and he's saying, I can't do it. That could be, I don't know, he could be a lone wolf, but it could also be the start. We've seen this with the Justice Department under Trump, where there's mass resignations and people start to reveal things that are really going on that are often far worse than what we've been officially reported.
Yes. And you're right. Sometimes that's sort of like the beginning of the dominoes falling. But we have to look at this situation with Trump and the Trump administration as really unique in American history, certainly in our lifetimes, where we have a host of people, Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth and Tulsi Gabbard and Pam Bondi. These people, he has been very careful because he learned from his first administration that he doesn't want anybody to provide any guardrails around him. He wants complete sycophants, people who are just willing to do whatever he says. I mean, Pam Bondi, she humiliated herself in front of Congress.
Wow,
remember when
that was terrible.
She refused. Oh, it was just terrible. And so it was also terrible with her name is escaping me right now. Who was the head of Homeland Security?
Kristi Noem. Yeah,
Kristi Noem. My gosh, but obviously, he has been very selective in choosing people that will not go against anything he says. So if that's who he's chosen at the top, people tend to hire and promote people who are like them. And so if these are the heads of these various executive departments, I think that we can be relatively confident that the people that work below them, if they've appointed them, if they've hired them, they will be like them. And it's going to be up to us.
Yeah, that's key. Joe Kent, in resigning, said on his social media that Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation. Mm-hmm. And that, I mean, to me, to say that on the way out the door could be, I hope it's opening the floodgates. New York Times with a really strong editorial today saying, the president can't spin his way out of this war, that he hasn't explained why we went in, and that he doesn't seem to have a clear path out. That's right.
And so when we look back at the Vietnam War, which was a war, that we lost so many of our soldiers, what ended up getting us out of that was the level of protest.
Right.
That was the beginning of the end. And I think we might have to address this war in pretty much the same way. We cannot rest on our laurels. I mean, the United States, like I said, we're a war-based economy, and partly it's because we're separated by oceans. And we really haven't seen, since the Civil War, we haven't seen war on our lands. We don't know, what it's like to live through that. But in this day and age, with the technology that we have, I was hearing rumors that it's possible that using drones, California might be vulnerable to Iran's attacks. Now, maybe that's not true. I have no idea.
Well, part
about
of
the
it came from, but
technology.
some of it came from the FBI, right? They were the ones saying that there might be an imminent attack on California soil. Now, Kash Patel could have made that up. He's certainly one to make stuff up, but technically it is possible. And when you look at the drone attacks that have happened inside Russia, in the Ukraine, and then we know now, well, it's, again, rumors. I don't know if they're rumors or speculation, but it's being widely reported that Russia is supporting Iran with drones and drone technology. And so that means we're actually fighting a proxy war with Russia right now, which is crazy, as if we weren't already sort of half-steppingly fighting one in Ukraine. We're supposed to be on Ukraine's side, but President Trump has sort of abandoned them to an extent while still selling them weapons. The possibilities for strikes on U.S. soil are much bigger, I think, and I'm just saying this based on not being an expert, but based on what I read. It's probably there's a greater chance of that than has ever been in my lifetime, I would say.
I agree with you, Dominique, and I do believe that the only thing that can begin to decrease our vulnerability is American people standing up and just saying no. We are not going along with this. Iran does not present a threat to us. I believe that we're doing this so that we can focus on Iran and not on other things.
Iran didn't pose a threat to us. Do you think we can still say they don't? I mean, you've got a leader in there. We killed his wife and his dad, and supposedly he's lost a leg. Now, that could be a rumor, but because we haven't seen the new supreme leader of Iran. But I think they didn't pose a threat to us. Do you think they still don't? Because they got to be pretty angry right about now.
That's right. So what we're talking about is blowback.
Yeah.
I think that the possibility for blowback existed on day one.
Yeah.
I don't know how we should proceed. Should we continue to do what we're doing and possibly increase the potential for blowback?
Massive self-own. I mean, it's what it is. We created the gas prices are up. Why? Because we attacked Iran. Now we do have an imminent threat. Why? Because we attacked Iran. As you pointed out wisely, Sharon Kyle, it was supposedly we cannot afford universal health care. Why? Because we spend all our money on weaponry to attack Iran, to support Israel, to attack Gaza, to send to Ukraine. And so these are all self-generated problems. We'll talk about solutions when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
Warning, evacuation in progress. Leave the building.
It's a total takeover.
That's what I want.
On Friday, March 27th, KBLA Talk 1580 belongs to the women.
Are you ready?
All day long, from 6 in the morning to midnight, the mic belongs to powerful, accomplished women, and we are not letting go. Nothing but the voices of women who inspire, challenge, and move us forward. It's the women of KBLA Talk 1580, sun up to sundown. I'm Dominique DePrima, and I'll anchor the day with a 3-hour live panel from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on the state of Black women in LA, followed by women talking to women all day long about the issues that matter most. Our hosts for the day include Jill Monroe, Adrian Shropshire, Dr. Melina Abdullah, Angela Reddick-Wright, Raquel Graham, Angelique Francis, Tasha Thomas, Dr. Shalonda Crawford, Dion Raymond, and featuring special guest hosts Santita Jackson and Amanda Seals. This is Women's History Month, and we're not just celebrating it, we're amplifying it. Join us Friday, March 27th on KBLA Talk 1580, where women take over all day, all night. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 and all of our socials for the rundown. You don't want to miss a single word. and happy Women's History Month from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
To my ladies, you should know how to work that.
You are the bomb.
Heading out of town this spring? Metro makes getting to LAX easier than ever. Just take the C or K train lines to the new LAX Metro Transit Center. Then catch a free shuttle straight to your terminal. Easy, affordable, stress-free. Travel smart. Go Metro.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Created with a share of the 1984 Olympic Games surplus, LA 84 began operations in 1985 as a grant-making and educational foundation. Today, the LA 84 Foundation supports hundreds of nonprofit youth sports organizations throughout Southern California annually, trains coaches, commissions research, convenes conferences, and maintains the world's premier Olympic and sports library collection. They are transforming lives and communities through the power of youth sports. To find out about youth sports programs for yourself or your child, and to get information about the grants and support they offer to schools and nonprofits, or if you want to make a donation, please visit la84.org. That's la84.org. Or you can call them at 323-730-4600. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card, so let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver card is at table 27, and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Heard any other talk radio lately that sounds anything like this? Didn't think so. You're listening to Unapologetically Progressive KBLA Talk 1580.
Talking with Sharon Kyle of the LA Progressive, laprogressive.com. Sign up for free or support a Black-owned publication which offers progressive news every single day. So we talked about the power of the people. I talk about it all the time. I think it's the only thing that's going to save America, actually the world. When I say America, I'm talking about the United States, but all of the Americas, because right now, the United States, sadly, is not the only out-of-control regime. We have a spread of fascism that is taken hold in parts of Latin America and many parts of Europe. So we're talking about a larger problem than just our governance here in the United States. So let's remember, let's look at times or ways where the people of the United States have been able to impact outcomes when we're talking about war.
Yeah, right. I want to talk a little bit. There are peace efforts. There always have been. We generally don't focus on Black-led anti-war efforts, but there are some. And there is one organization, the Black Alliance for Peace, which is the most prominent Black-led anti-war organization operating today. It focuses on opposing U.S. militarism, obviously, foreign bases, which we have over 800 of them, opposing sanctions, and domestic militarization. And so with the Black-led anti-war efforts, there is more of a focus, not just on being anti-war and anti-imperialist, but also anti-domestic militarization, because we have so much of it in our cities, and we have also militarized the borders, which is a focus also that these Black anti-war, the Black Alliance for Peace, the National Black Anti-War and Anti-Draft Union, even the Civil Rights Movement had an anti-war wing, and Martin Luther King, in his famous Beyond the Vietnam speech, he talks about how wars are economically destructive and wars are deeply connected to racism. So it is really incumbent upon the Black community to come together to protect, even for self-protection, because we are disproportionately impacted, even though the wars are not here at home. And we're impacted in the ways that I just talked about, how there's a connection between Black oppression and our war efforts and the militarization of our police departments and so on.
Yeah, and some argue that one of the reasons that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. may have been assassinated was his bold opposition to the Vietnam War, which wasn't really mainstream at that point.
That's right. He gave that famous speech on April 4th, 1967, at Riverside Church, where he just laid it all out, that we have got to get out of these wars, and that he called the United States the most violent country in the world. And then exactly to the day, 1 year later, he was assassinated. It seemed that, as long as he stayed in his lane and just talked about civil rights, he was okay. But once he started looking at the bigger picture, it was time for him to go.
Not sure if this administration cares about elections anymore, Sharon Kyle, because I feel like they cheated in the last one, and they're doing their best to control and suppress our votes in the next one, in the midterms. However, from my understanding of U.S. history, the only time we really stop wars, other than World War II, where we were able to declare victory, is when they become wildly unpopular with the voters of the United States.
That's right. And I would say that World War II was the last time that we could declare victory. We have been extremely unsuccessful, regardless of the investments in life and limb and funds and other resources. We consistently lose. And it seems like that's not teaching us a lesson. And I think that the reason it doesn't teach us a lesson, when I say we lose, there's somebody that is winning. Those that are incentivized to maintain this war economy, they don't lose either way. They sell weaponry to both sides. So as long as there's some war going on, somebody is profiting.
Yeah, but the American people, the U.S. Americans, and the people, whoever we are bombing to rubble, do not benefit. I think about Gaza, and it hurts my heart so much to see what's happening there. I think about those girls at a school in Iran, little girls who didn't do anything to deserve this, and the fact that I have to cough up money during tax season to pay for that, it hurts my heart. And to your point, we're spending all this money and we still ain't good at it?
Yeah, but not only are we not good at it, but we're paying for our own oppression. So whether we win or we lose, those resources that have been diverted from the huge domestic needs that we have, those resources are gone, whether we win or lose. And we, Black people, for the most part, disproportionately are negatively impacted by the lack of those resources in terms of our ability to, even our lifespan is shorter because we don't have the healthcare systems that we need.
Well, my takeaway is we, the people, are going to have to hit the streets again. And
that's right.
And do our part, because we are the Department of Peace. We, the people, are the Department of Peace. Sharon Kyle from the LA Progressive, thank you so much for the conversation this morning.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
We'll be talking with labor economist and author Julianne Malveaux when we come forward after news, traffic, and sports on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Repairs are underway at Temple Israel in West Bloomfield, Michigan, after a man rammed his truck into the synagogue before taking his own life. Jewish Family Service and Common Grounds are offering counseling.
Built this crisis response team years ago, kind of like building a fire truck, hoping you never have to use the fire truck.
Free drop-in support is available all week. A federal judge in Boston has blocked Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s bid to overhaul U.S. vaccine policy, ruling the proposed cuts to childhood vaccinations and changes to a federal advisory panel would harm public health. The decision voids his recent committee votes and appointments. And Kiki Shepard, best known as the longtime co-host of Showtime at the Apollo, has died at 74 after a sudden heart attack in Los Angeles. Fans and